In this video, we will look at the events that occurred in California. 28-year-old Cori Desmond disappeared in Rondo Beach while leaving her bartending job on Valentine's Day, 2009. A few days later, her body was found in a plastic trash bag on the side of the road in Running Springs, San Bernardino County. The police had different versions of what happened. However, a few months later, the investigation reached a dead end. The breakthrough occurred after a woman who saw a billboard with a picture of Cori called the police department. Cori Day Desmond was born on March 18, 1980, at Torrance Memorial Hospital. Right from the start, she was the center of attention because she had to fight to survive due to a hole in her diaphragm. She had to undergo multiple surgeries and was only given a 20% chance of survival. Miraculously, she not only survived, but she thrived. Friends and family knew Cori as a smart, self-confident young woman, unafraid to express her opinion. She was energetic and full of affection for those she cared about, who were many. Desmond graduated from North Torrance High School and earned a master's degree in criminal justice from Long Beach State. Unsure of her calling in life, she changed her mind and decided to become a teacher. Her goal was to teach autistic children. A week after her death, a notice came in the mail stating that she had earned her teaching credential. She was loved by many, and friends knew her as sweet at times but also tough as nails. She could command a bar full of patrons when she wanted, all while singing one of her favorite karaoke songs like Black Velvet or These Boots Were Made for Walking, once again being the center of attention. It was that secondary family Cori acquired while working in those various establishments that kept her going back, despite what her family wanted her to do. In 2009, Cori worked in a bar. On Saturday, February 14th, she had a shift that ended at 9:30 p.m. She then walked 2 blocks to the popular Bar Street Lounge. Many employees of this bar knew Cori, as she had friends working there. She was caught on surveillance cameras helping her friends at the bar. She left there only after closing around 2:00 a.m., and none of her friends saw her after that. On Monday, February 16th, at approximately 2:20 p.m., the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office received a terrifying call about 100 miles from the bar where people last saw Cori. The driver stopped to take snow chains off the wheels. The man felt a strong, unpleasant smell as soon as he exited the car. He thought the source of the stench was an animal that had been hit by a car, but still decided to check. Not far from the car, he found something strange, a black plastic garbage bag with a woman's body inside. The man ran out into the road in a panic, stopping cars and asking them to call the police as his phone's battery was dead. They identified the victim by fingerprints and her driver's license. It was 28-year-old Cori Day Desmond. Cori had been subjected to a brutal attack and died from strangulation. She had bruises on her face and neck and injuries to the back of her head. Cori tried to fight back as she had several defense wounds. Although it was unable to determine the exact time of death, medical experts said Cori had been on the street for about 12 to 36 hours before the man found her. Cori's pants were unbuttoned and pulled to her knees, but no signs of intimate contact were found. The first conclusion investigators came to was that the place where the driver found Cori's body was not the place of her death. The criminal left her body by the side of the road, hoping it would take time to find it. Before the man found her body, the rain destroyed all possible evidence. Reporting bad news to the families of the dead or missing is perhaps the hardest thing in the work of a policeman. At that time, Cori was living with her grandmother. The news about her granddaughter's body found in a garbage bag shocked the woman, and this news was no less devastating for Mark, Cori's father. Mark knew perfectly well how the system worked. Sometimes the police delay the investigation for many months because they need a warrant to conduct searches, interrogations, and fingerprinting. There are cases when the time-consuming bureaucracy slows down the process of solving a crime. Therefore, Mark decided not to sit and wait for the police to find the person who deprived him of his daughter. He decided to act. He said that love for his daughter gave him the strength to look for the criminal. Mark found Cori's Jeep Wrangler in an alley next to the bar where she worked. He also discovered that Cori disappeared on the night of February 15th, but unfortunately, no one knew about it. Grandma did not panic because Cori was already an adult and could stay overnight with a friend or friends. In addition, she often worked late into the night and came home when her grandmother was already asleep. Investigators went to the bar where Desmond worked to find possible witnesses or leads. They talked to other employees and learned that Cori finished her shift at 9:30 p.m. and then went to another bar. She often did that because her friends worked at that bar. Cori often visited them at the end of her shift, helping at the bar or chatting with friends while sitting at the counter. Besides, it brought her extra tips. Bar visitors knew her face well, and many perceived Cori as another employee. Surveillance cameras confirmed the words of the visitors. They captured the girl helping her friends at the bar. Unfortunately, a bartender's job is not only to pour drinks and entertain the interlocutors. Sometimes, after drinking alcohol, some people stop controlling their emotions and their behavior becomes inappropriate. That evening, Cori was unlucky enough to meet such a person. According to eyewitnesses, she argued with some man who behaved provocatively. He bothered women and unceremoniously touched them, making unflattering compliments. While everyone was silent and did not dare to put this man in his place, Cori stood up for the bar's visitors. In other words, the girl explained to the man that he was not welcome there. Furious, but still agreeing to leave Cori, she continued to help her friends and made drinks at the bar as if nothing had happened. That evening, she consumed alcohol, but it did not affect her behavior. After 2 a.m., she left the bar alone and planned to go home, but, as we now know, a man found Cori's lifeless body 100 miles from the bar the next day. Mark gave the police all the information he could find. Through television, he appealed to everyone to report any crucial information for the investigation. Meanwhile, the police identified the man Cori quarreled with before her death. During a conversation with investigators, the man said he did not know who Cori Desmond was. However, he did not deny having a big fight with the girl in a bar on February 14th. The man said alcohol made him uncontrollable, confirming that they kicked him out of the bar right after. He went home to sleep. The suspect denied any involvement in the crime. He agreed to take a polygraph test and let the police search his house and car. They carefully examined the suspect's car, as there could have been traces like bloodstains, hair, or something belonging to Cori. The car was dirty both inside and outside, and yet forensic experts did not find any evidence there. While searching the man's house, they found nothing indicating his involvement in the crime. The last hope of the investigators to catch the man in a lie was the polygraph test. But the man passed it without much difficulty, answering all the questions from the police. In addition, his wife confirmed that he came home before 2 a.m. and immediately went to bed. Cori left the bar around 2 a.m., which means this man was not involved in her death. Thus, the police excluded him from the list of suspects. The problem, however, was that they had no other persons of interest in this investigation. They studied Cori's personal life, trying to find out if she had enemies who could wish her harm. Investigators found out another strange detail. The owner of the bar where Cori worked said that that night she came and asked for permission to use the toilet. But since the bar was closed, he refused her request and advised her to go home. It was about 2:20 in the morning. What happened next remained a mystery because Cori never got in the car and did not go home. Investigators assumed that she had been abducted or assaulted near her place of work. However, the bar's surveillance cameras did not record this, and there were no witnesses on the street at such a late hour. At the time of Cori's death, her blood alcohol content was more than 4 times the legal limit for driving. It was unclear whether she planned to use her car or was looking for other ways to get home. Unfortunately, she did not meet anyone who would help her that night. A month later, the investigation reached a dead end. The police checked all the versions and clues but found no new suspects. Cori's father, Mark, wasn't going to give up. He rented 3 billboards on Area Boulevard in Redondo Beach. The billboards contained a photo of his daughter with the question, "Who killed Cori Desmond?" The man offered a $155,000 reward for any information helpful to the police. "I'm going to keep them up there to let people know the guy is still out there," Mark Desmond said. "Maybe it will save somebody to some extent." This story is similar to the one of Alexandra Kemp. The latter's father, Roger, did everything to find the criminal, and billboards played a crucial role in solving the crime. If you haven't watched this story yet, click on the link at the end of this video. Information about Cori periodically appeared on 50 electronic billboards. Eventually, it brought results. In May 2009, the phone rang at the police station. A woman named Tiffany Ware saw one of the billboards with a photo of Cori. Thanks to this woman, the police were able to solve this case. Tiffany spoke very quietly. The woman was experiencing stress and severe fright. She rambled as if she didn't know where to start. Then she finally focused and said, "Hello, my name is Tiffany. I think my boyfriend, Tony Lopez Perez, killed that bartender girl, Cori Desmond. Please check him. He's behaving strangely, but I'll tell you more when we meet." Tiffany called several times to arrange a meeting with the detective. During their conversation in the park, the woman told him about her suspicions. According to her, on February 14th, she and Tony planned a romantic Valentine's Day dinner. She spent the whole evening preparing for the date. Tiffany took the children to their grandparents, visited a beauty salon, and bought a new red dress. Tony loved it when she wore red clothes. It drove him crazy. The guy was working that day, but had to return home around 11:30 p.m. Tiffany waited for Tony almost all night. The woman tried to contact him, but he did not answer calls and messages. Tony returned home at 4:30 in the morning, and as if nothing had happened, said he was too drunk to go home. He said he fell asleep in his car. Tiffany mentioned that Tony rarely cleaned the interior of his car. However, after a few days, he bought a whole set of cleaning products and washed the car thoroughly, not letting her help. The guy's behavior seemed strange, but at that moment, she did not attach much importance to it. A few days later, Tony sold his white Dodge for almost nothing and bought another car. He also changed his phone number for no apparent reason. A little later, they had a joint trip to Big Bear Lake. They chatted along the way, and everything seemed normal until Tony suddenly stopped the car on the side of the road. He turned to Tiffany and asked her, "Do you think this dead girl, what was her name?" "The bartender, was dumped here? I'm almost 100% sure that the police found her body here." Tony Lopez Perez and Tiffany Ware lived together for about 4 years. They had a 6-year-old son together, but never married. He was a hard-working man and got along well with everyone. He has never had any problems with the law. Perez came from a large family with 8 siblings. His parents grew up in the LA area, and Perez attended high school in Manhattan Beach. Tony's absence on the day of Cori's death, cleaning the car, urgently selling it, a strange trip, and an equally strange comment about where the police found her body, along with the change of phone number and odd behavior. Putting all these facts together, Tiffany realized that Tony could be the one who took the life of Cori Desmond. She didn't want to believe it. The investigators decided to talk to Tony and went to his house to prevent him from suspecting anything. Tiffany agreed to play along with the police, not telling him anything about this conversation. It looked as if they were conducting a routine interview of people to find witnesses in the Cori Desmond case. Tony looked calm, like a person with nothing to hide. He wasn't nervous while answering all the questions. He said he didn't know her, mentioning he had only seen Cori in the newspapers. However, to arrest Tony Lopez Perez for taking the life of Cori, they needed hard evidence. Thus, the police found the new owner of the Dodge that Tony sold shortly after the news of Cori's death. The new owner confirmed that Tony sold him his car for a low price. He allowed the police to check the vehicle for any evidence. Tiffany said Tony cleaned the interior thoroughly before selling his car. However, when the experts applied luminol and used an ultraviolet lamp, it became evident why Tony Lopez Perez got rid of his car. The interior of the car lit up in bright blue. The police asked Tony to come to the police station. They didn't tell him anything about the find so he wouldn't run away. At first, he claimed he had never seen Cori, but later changed his testimony, saying he saw her near the bar and whistled at her. As soon as the police noticed that the man was changing his testimony, they showed him photos of the car he had sold and said they had found crucial evidence there. This time, Tony claimed to have seen Cori outside the bar, standing under a street lamp. She suddenly lost consciousness and fell on the sidewalk. He tried to help her, but she did not regain consciousness. Then he started slapping Cori on the cheeks. Cori opened her eyes and started screaming. She told him to get out and asked him to let her go. According to Tony, he got scared, put his hands over her mouth, and accidentally strangled her. Fearing he would get blamed for Cori's death, he put her body in the back seat of his car and drove home. Perez said he woke up during the night and went outside to see if it was a nightmare. "I opened the door and it was not a nightmare," Perez told detectives. It was true. Perez said he went back inside and tried to get some sleep. In the morning, he went to work with Desmond's body still in the back seat. At the end of the working day, he placed her body in 2 garbage bags, took it to a remote area, and left it next to the side of the road. According to Tony's story, what he did to Cori was an accident. He claimed that he was drunk and scared, and he accidentally strangled her in a state of panic. But Cori's injuries suggested otherwise. She had severe injuries on the back of her head, bruises on her face and neck, and defense wounds on her hands. Moreover, Cori's pants were down to her knees. Tony Perez was arrested and charged with first-degree deprivation of life. The next day, he showed the police where he dumped Cori's body. In addition to Tony's confession, they now had the results of DNA tests. Cori's blood matched the blood found in the car that Tony sold immediately after committing the crime. At the 2011 trial, Coroner Jack Sheridan testified to the multiple contusions to the victim's head, the evidence of strangulation, and the blunt force trauma to her face. Sheridan also said she had scratches on her body that suggested the criminal dragged her after her death. Based on Cori's injuries, prosecutors said Perez assaulted her and tried to force her into intimacy in the early morning of February 15, 2009. Cori resisted. Unable to get what he wanted, Perez strangled her. Tiffany Ware testified during the trial. She told the San Bernardino County jury that her former boyfriend, Tony Lopez Perez, had an insatiable appetite for sex in January and February 2009. Even though they were making love almost every day, she said Perez was still not satisfied. Tiffany also told the court that Tony had twice engaged in intimacy with her against her will. It happened after the birth of their son, with an interval of about a month. Both incidents occurred when she was fast asleep on the couch after taking painkillers due to severe back pain. Perez, who chose not to testify at the trial, made his first statements to the court during his sentencing. He said he was taught to love and respect those around him, but that he veered off course at times. "I forgot the key lessons I was taught about in life, which make me a man, a father, a loving uncle to many, and a responsible person who supports his family that I so love," Perez said. In the end, I fell short. He generally stuck to the story his attorney, Andrew Hanel, presented at the trial. Perez claimed he found Cori passed out on the sidewalk and tried to calm her down, saying he didn't mean to kill her. "I should have thought before acting," Perez said. "I should have stepped back and cleared my head. Fear took over. I was so scared, so careless." Cori's father, Mark Desmond, said his daughter had a beautiful future ahead of her before her life was cut short at the age of 28. Tony Perez should live the rest of his miserable life knowing he killed his own children's hopes and dreams, her father said. At the same time, he was killing Cori. He added that Perez embodies all the characteristics that women in society fear. Just before sentencing, Perez asked God in the court to show him mercy. "My very deepest apologies to the Desmond family and to my own family. I have brought such hurt and sorrow to the Desmonds that will forever shape their life," he said. "I hope he never gets out on the street again," said Desmond's grandmother, Beverly. "I hope he suffers as much as she suffered." In July 2011, a jury of 6 men and 6 women found 36-year-old Tony Lopez Perez guilty of first-degree deprivation of life. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with the right to parole after 25 years. Cori Desmond's family expressed gratitude to Tiffany Ware, thanks to whom the police solved this case. "If it hadn't been for her, I don't think they would have ever found out it was him," said Leslie Schwab, a family friend who attended every day of the trial, along with about a dozen others in San Bernardino County.